I know we made a suggestion, we did a survey monkey, a suggestion has been made that we rotate showing What's Up Waco during different periods each day rather than first hour every day. Please select yes or no to this suggestion. It was real close. It was, wow. 28 yes and 29 no's. So 50.8% said no and 49.1% said yes. So I guess we'll keep What's Up Waco where it is. Now, with that being said, please tell your teachers to show it during the planned time it's supposed to be shown, which is, yeah, which is first period after announcements.
So we can't show the fifth period.
Why are we showing fifth period?
Because I'm in the gym and I hadn't seen it. They just don't have it down there.
Yeah, they don't get this. I know, like, at the end of I said, we got to get through our reading, and maybe the last 5 minutes, y'all watch a little bit, but that's it.
And I'll do that too.
Yeah.
I'll say at the end of the class, if you'd remind me.
And then sometimes we don't watch it.
But when we do a survey monkey and the majority speaks, I understand, but when the majority speaks, then what you do is if we show it different times of the day, it gives pushback to the teachers that only doing it first period.
Yes.
So that's why we gotta be consistent. I don't know what just give me a minute. If we can get those TVs up in the cafeteria, maybe we can show it like during lunch or something. But we still have to get our TVs. Still have to get our TVs up during lunch. So yeah, so please tell the teachers to show it first period when it's supposed to be shown. And unfortunately, like I said, if we got people showing it all day, then it's gonna give pushback to the teachers that want to show it first period. So we did the survey, and however close it is, that's what the majority said. So, and please tell them to show it after. And yeah, I know sometimes we leave out and we get things and we put our own interpretation to it, but don't misinterpret it. Show it Friday after announcements. If they don't show it, I know, and we'll work on a way to get the students who don't see it, a way to see it. I don't know if I can, I'll think about it. I'll come up with something for PE, for the kids that don't see it. All right, I always talk about this. I just want to remind, because I think we're getting a little confused as to, and it's amazing, I promise y'all, I don't sit in my office and look at the videos. I promise y'all I don't. But every now and then I'm chasing a student or chasing a situation, or we got a parent conference where we got to verify something. And I'm telling you, whether it's on the bus, whether it's looking at a certain thing, you always see something that causes you to go back and, I didn't see that, and it causes you to go back and kind of look. So please remind the teachers that they have to stay at their doors when they have lunch. You don't just walk out and go to lunch. You're supposed to stay there until that tardy bell rings, then you go to lunch, and you still have your lunch. After school, you're supposed to be at the doors after school until either 3:45 or your hall is completely cleared. This is certainly nothing new. But I have us that's not even coming out of our rooms, and again, I keep giving the example, it's fine until something happens. But the first thing they gonna say is, where was that teacher? It ain't gonna be where I was at. So I'm not fussing. I'm just, please stop. Tell your teachers, don't put yourselves in those situations. Because we've already been to court one time, And we've got about 3 or 4 teachers that can tell you in live court, whether you sitting on the prosecution side or you sitting on the defense side, the first thing out of their mouth, for me, the first thing out of their mouth for all the other teachers was, where were the teachers? And if we say, I was in the room talking to a student because that student needed, and then they say, well, where were you supposed to be? You just personally put yourself in a situation to be sued personally. And that's the importance of being on those duties. You know, I just had this long speech about administrative duty. That's what that is. You know, I don't have to look on the camera and see if somebody's standing at their door. Because when something happens, if we wasn't, it goes directly to you. And trust me, we don't want to be put in that situation. And then you can't run to me or run to Dr. Hinton if something happens. That is real life. We've had that happen in this school. And the only thing that saved our teachers, again, was they were where they were supposed to be. And I cannot emphasize that enough. So if you got to talk to a student, tell that student, come on, walk with me, and you go to the door and you can talk to that student all day. But don't be in the room and don't be caught, you know, not being on duty. And that's for our own. And also at the beginning of planning, make sure that we at the door until the tardy bell sound, and then we go into our planning session. Reminder on grading, we cannot grade discipline. Okay, we cannot take off points. Grades have to be for a performance, something that if we're sitting in a conference, we can justify. Grading for a discipline, you cannot do that. It has to be something that could be measured. You know, talking in class, deduct 5 points. We can't do that, okay? Not being on task, deduct 5 points. We can't do that. It has to be something that's measurable. That's nothing new, but again, the misinterpretation got in somewhere, and so we started grading on a discipline. And let me tell you what happens. And the reason you can't do this is because if you got somebody competing for valedictorian or salutatorian, and I got one teacher that one of the students that's up for that is in one class, and I got another teacher that one of the students is up for that is in another class. One teacher is taking off points for, you know, discipline. The other teacher is not taking off points for discipline. And then you have a race which happens all the time, Ms. Hill can attest to that, where it's like a point of a fraction of a point. And then God forbid if a student said, well, the only reason I didn't get it because in Dr. Gray's class, he took off 5 points because my group was talking. And if you don't think that parent is going to come up here for us to justify that, if y'all remember, we had points for bathrooms, and we had to change that. And then we had to, if a student didn't do the bathroom, we had to give them some extra bonus questions on their test because it had to be something academic that we could measure, okay? So please remind them, no, and I'll talk about this again, but can't do anything we do. Bottom line is anything we do in a parent conference, we have to be able to justify. So if you're doing something, if they're doing something in their rooms, and if a parent comes in and we can't talk it and justify it, then don't do it. Because when they come talk to me, I can't speak for what you're doing in your room. I have to call you, and then we have to talk about it, okay? Because just like some of us in here are concerned parents, and when it comes to our children, just remember it's the same way with others. You know, just like, you know, my one daughter, you know, when I go over there for a conference, I expect those teachers to be able to justify. I'm not going over there to change anything, but you have to justify something as to why she did or didn't get this or whatever. So, I mean, even down to coaching, we have to use a rubric. We encourage our coaches to use a rubric because we have parents come in and want to know why their child didn't make a cheerleading squad or something. And if I sit there and say, well, first thing they're going to say is, well, no, me and you had that problem 10 years ago, and now you're taking it out on my child. Where if I sit there and say, well, you had to do this skill, that skill, this skill, and that skill, and here's her points, and here's where she, then it's not subjective. So just be able to justify everything that we do. Grouping. There seems to be a little bit confusion about grouping. I don't know how systemic this is, but I'm just going to talk about it. When we do our grouping, you have several types of grouping of students. You have the grouping when we're doing a reading strategy. We're doing it based on our Lexile scores, so you know how you do that. Then we have grouping based on formative assessments. You got a group that didn't get it, a group that maybe got it. Then you got a group that got it that you can accelerate and move on while you're trying to bring these other groups up. So you have those groups that's based on some type of data. Well, all of them are based on some type of data, but all groups, I think it's a little confusion where some of us think that all groups should be based on the SRI setup. You know, I got my kids is doing the best on this problem, group with my kids is not doing the best on this problem or this situation. That's totally separate. So you got your SRI grouping and then you got your data grouping. Okay, so which is what we've always done, but I think some people are mixing the two up. So just clear that up if you don't mind. Do what now?
On Hog Time days, is that supposed to be reading groups only?
On Hog Time days, especially, we're supposed to be doing a reading strategy, unless you like math and they have their. Now, let me clear something up. Reading strategies is not something separate. You're doing your content through that strategy. So I think some of us think that, well, when I'm doing Hog Time, I'm getting behind on this. Not at all. Whatever you have planned just on that day, you do it through one of those strategies. Okay? It's not, well, I can't do Hog Time tomorrow because I'm getting behind on this. It's within your content area. It's within what you're teaching. Just on that day, you do it through that strategy. And what we're trying to, and we have to stay consistent with that. Because if we start deviating from Hog Time days, then it's going to be one day now, and by the time the school year over, ain't nobody going to be doing Hog Time. Okay? So that's that one day a week, all day, that whatever you have planned in your lesson, do it through a reading strategy. Whether it's listen, read, discuss, whether it's reciprocal, whether it's PALS, whichever one you want to do. But on Hog Time days, stay with your Hog Time. Now, I have some that have come and talked to me and, you know, I'm not going to be here or whatever. But we are in the crawl phase of this. We just started this, so everybody doesn't have a complete grasp of how this should work. But whatever we're teaching, we do it through the Hog Time. So don't look at Hog Time as doing something. The only ones that do something, I guess, totally different is English, where they go into their independent reading.
In Spanish.
Yeah, in Spanish. And then math works on graphs and things like that. So it can kind of get a little off.
For us too, because like if we're working like on Excel or something like that, there's only just so many articles or something like that you could really read about using
You can do
Excel.
listen, read, discuss.
Yeah, we do that.
Right.
I mean, that is the strategy that I use.
Right.
But it's just hard finding a lot of like things that pertain to working with Excel. I mean, that's working with the spreadsheet. You know, I mean, and I found some things,
Right.
but, I mean, I really resorted to kind of using more current event type things with them.
Right.
And I really like that, program that Miss Ingram showed us.
And
through
that's what I was gonna say,
There's
ELA doc,
The,
yeah.
and the, that
Newsella.
Newsella.
Newsella, that
I
was
like that.
just
Yeah.
awesome if we were able to purchase that, because, you know, I don't
But
know
you
if
can-
you've seen it a lot, you can get the free part, I
And
mean,
you
I've
can
gone
do
through
it again
it.
on we have 2
Another-
emails.
Yeah, I've done that, and looked at, you know, it goes strictly by Lexile, and, you know, you can, rate it, like if your student is on a lower Lexile.
That's right. You can
It
change
changes
it.
the
That's
article,
right.
I love that.
Well, and use your IFs. If you're having trouble finding articles, IFs will be more than happy to help you with that. But it has to be something that's consistent, and it has to be something that the students understand that this is what we're doing. I had a young man today got put out of reading. I think it was Miss Cunningham's reading class. I took him and I put up his Lexile score. He was a junior. He had a 903. So I had that conversation with him. You got a 903. That's below basic, and you're a junior. You know, and once I made it relevant and he understood, now I can't guarantee he won't get put out again, but at least when he was talking to me, he understood why it's important for him to read, and he wants to be a physical therapist. So I say, as a physical therapist, and you're reading medical terms, if you don't understand it, so hopefully that'll get his attention.
I think that it worked for today, because I think I know what you're talking about, and he read the whole period, $7.
And he told me, he said, well, I read, what did he tell me? I read 3 times a day or 2 times a day. But once I showed him, made it relevant and made it personal, then he understood the purpose of it. I said, this is for you. And so anyway, so we just have to stay consistent so students don't think that, okay, this is just something that we're doing. I think we've been real consistent. I know with the independent reading, and I walk around and it's doing pretty good. So let's just continue. Any concerns or anything from the departments? Yes, ma'am.
I still have some asking a few questions about the bathroom passes. I know that we can't deny them going to the restroom. It's still the same students. I think, you know, and I was clear that they do serve the lunch detention and stuff, but maybe suggest something different, like if we're the habitual ones. Do y'all notice the same ones all the time in lunch detention?
Well, what do they suggest we do?
I don't know.
Because I can tell you what I told I can tell you what I told my daughter, I can tell you what I told my daughter yesterday. She come home and said, Miss So-and-so, Dad wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. I almost didn't make it. I said, well, you get up and leave. I said, don't you use the bathroom on yourself. I said, you get up and leave, and then when you leave, you go straight to the office and tell them that I said for her not to use the bathroom on herself. Now, yeah, we've got, I don't doubt that we've got a handful of kids that don't mind the lunch detention, that don't mind,
It was full today.
yeah, but don't mind it. But what else? That's one of those things where, that's one of those things where if we deny it and they go, that's on you.
I just write those forms out Monday.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
write
know the
5
question
sometimes
is-
a day.
Well, I know the question is
Make them
because
ask
we
me.
contemplated, it's not an alarming number, but everything's a progression, as a consequence for so many things. We've had discussed some that are super habitual. We just hadn't really noticed a big number of them, because the consequence is they gotta sit in lunch detention. We make sure they sit in lunch detention. If they miss lunch detention, then they're issued 2 makeups. If they miss a makeup, they go to ISS. I mean, there's always a consequence for their action.
Okay.
And we try to counsel a little bit. We say, hey, use between class, use your 3, but they all have to stay. And it's full, and it's full because it's not only used for that, it's also used for tardies, and other minor infractions.
But
Okay.
you see
I
y'all
see
see
what
the
you're saying.
y'all see the lunch detention room, and if it was a big issue, we would have to sit chairs outside the thing, and we're not to that point.
Well, it's almost for, and you're saying it's also for tardies and things.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I think someone noticed how full it
Oh, those
was and
are
maybe
majority tardies.
assumed.
Oh, no, that's
But it
majority
was
tardies.
just lunch
Because we're getting
detention.
toward the end of the grading period. you know, at 4-7's engagement. And we've got students in ISS 8's a day plus, and that curtails tardies. But you still have the ones that are just, I mean, every 9 weeks, they're going to push it right up to that limit. But we haven't really noticed a tremendous amount
Figure
of
if they wanna
kids in
give up their
bars.
lunch with their
That's-
friends,
yeah.
that it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know.
Well, and for somebody to look at lunch attention, it's automatically assumed that's everybody that's on bathrooms.
No, no, those
I mean,
majority
that-
parties.
We've had lunch attention for 8 years. And we just started the bathroom pass thing last year. So, anyway. But if they have any suggestions, y'all know I'm open for suggestions. But it's got to be something that, and if they come up with a suggestion and they have children, just make sure it's something that if their child was involved in it, they'd be okay with it. We can always suggest stuff that when our children are involved in it. But anyway. Anything else? Any other, the bathroom is just such a, I mean, that's something we cannot defend, y'all. I mean, we don't know if they got an issue. We don't know, you know, we don't know if they got an issue. We don't know. But I will, as an administrative staff, we will, if we notice somebody that's just ridiculous, then we'll try to address that like that. But I don't think we have anybody that's.
We talked about it in case something like that, but like I said, they'd rather much eat with their friends.
Right.
And you hardly have anybody that's just in there constantly. But I know there's a couple of people you see in the hall, they've got these passes, but they do the lunch attention. We make sure that they do it.
And do anybody know what's the fun of, what's the
I
fun
have no
of?
idea, because I have three freshmen that are, you know,
I
it's
think
like
it's more so
every
freshmen, too.
other day. And I think it's just a freshman thing too. It's like, you know, maybe not Monday, but they're gonna come Wednesday and they've been out of their class passes. So I'm sending a note, send me some more counseling first. I just write it on, I'm like, okay, baby.
And I think it's the ninth graders that the issue's coming from, I really
Yeah.
do.
And that's with everything, with discipline. You just gonna have that handful of ninth graders that they just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
But really, y'all, that's such an indefensible thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't ever deny them from going to the bathroom. Right, so,
It just makes me upset when I don't run out of, but I gotta sit them, they gotta.
that's all right, we know, you
I'm
gotta
like, oh,
get
God, I'm
fired.
out.
Put on, make another, order more,
1 hour.
1 hours and,
council board, but just order.
I think about
You start
about
asking
not
pictures.
having
You got it?
textbooks. We issue them textbooks, but just like, especially with the civics books, they would leave them in different places. They would not have them in classes. We would give them the counselors for
That's
not
right.
having textbooks. And finally, the people in the library just started checking books back in because they were just, so many of them being left. It's like there was, so I know it's like Mr. Bates said, a progressive thing, but maybe that's something we can look at for next year.
and when y'all say so, and I know how we do, you know, when we say so many, can you give me a number?
I think there were at least 10 books, close to 10 books this week that were taken from the library back to our book room that they had checked in from Ms. Williams and Ms. Franklin.
That, who checked in?
They did from the library because they would leave them in the different teachers' classrooms and the teachers would take them to the library.
So, now I always thought we gave classroom sets. We gonna start issuing for them to take home?
If you
Yeah,
have
this-
Now, in the past, we've had classroom sets, and then we issued one to take home, and we kept our classroom set, and then they had the one at home. That's changed.
If you have enough
Yeah.
books, some, if you have enough books to do that.
Okay, who don't have enough books? We can buy more books.
But we just got some new socialist books as far as civics are concerned because the old ones were
Right.
about 8 or 9 years old. Those things were
Right.
completely kaput. So we did issue them all books
Okay.
this year, as opposed to having a classroom set of books.
So y'all issued them all books.
Right.
Do y'all give a lot of homework?
I do at least 2 days out of the week.
That require a book?
It would help if they used it.
All right, preach.
It would. It would help if they used it.
Right, right. So do y'all have, well, I guess my point is, do y'all have enough to issue at home and then have a classroom set?
I mean, we can make a classroom set of the old books
Is it the same
Same
material?
but they ain't in no good condition. That's
Well, the thing is we could either get into a thing where, no, you're gonna bring your book, or we can think of a way to alleviate that stress from ourselves. So if you got enough to where, whether they're old or not, if you got enough to where, I keep the new books from my classroom set, the one that's not bringing this book, I give my old book to take home. Now I got a classroom set. Now that issue is solved. You see what I'm saying? So if you're giving homework, then they've got that book at home. So now it's on them, if their homework, I don't know if we grade it or not, but now that whole situation goes on them, and it's not you stressing out because 5 people didn't bring their books to class that day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you got enough books, that's what I would do. I mean, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but because I know that's stressful when you got 3 of them in there without books, and you sitting there and got to check whether they got their books every day. Well, if you got a classroom set, you know at least your end of it is covered.
Right.
Now, if they got homework and they don't have a book, that's their end of it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So if y'all don't have enough books to do that, if you want to do that, just let us know. All right. Anything else? Everybody good? Y'all have anything administratively? Well, thank
I have one more thing.
Is that camera on?
Oh.
Do what now?